Terror comes in many forms. Snap One presented a subtle way of scaring through sounds, atmosphere, and lights that turned everyday animatronics into true monstrosities. However, what happens when a game doesn't want subtle horror? What happens when you use the bizarre to create fear? Yes, that's right. I'm going to talk about a fan game that came out in April, right at the beginning of May. You've probably already seen it, but this game is extravagant and out of the ordinary. This one serves as a remake of Snap One, but not by improving the graphics, rather by taking weirdness to the next level, using the first game as its base. He knows it's been 10 years since Scott created this franchise, understands our nostalgia, and uses it to his advantage in the story. Introducing an entity that wants us to go back to those times, or even improve them, giving us an experience that will make us never want to leave. This game is clearly inspired by fan games such as RAM, software, or Snap Virus, which is obvious when it forces us into full screen, to open the game in a window, without even giving us the option to revert it. That's why in some videos you'll see it's a bit pixelated or has a low resolution. It's not our problem, it's the game's problem. It wants us to play it this way. Once inside, the atmosphere is much darker and gloomier, using only black and white colors. The animatronics are now very deformed, giving them a very strange and bizarre appearance. Seriously, really bizarre. At first, it might seem like only Bonnie suffers from this, but in reality, none of the animatronics are spared. Bonnie has a long snout, comes after us through any door, and we must close them to avoid his attacks. Yes, in this sense, the game is very classic, just like the one we already know. So while Bonnie takes his time coming, something you may have already noticed is that the game window moves depending on where we look. That is, if we look to the right, it moves to the right, and the same happens with the left side, and it's really brilliant. Once again, reinforcing that this version of FNaF is a kind of virus that we should have never opened. Going back to the night, everything is supposed to end at 6 in the morning, right? Well, obviously not. The time resets because this entity wants us to stay here longer. And surprise, Foxy is active. His mechanic is to enter the office if we don't remove his hook from here, although he can also be dangerous if we don't flash him. However, Foxy isn't the only new one. Chica also joins in with her pretty smile to greet us. If we hear a very peculiar sound, it's her. 6 AM. This is almost over, but not quite yet. Freddy also wants to join the party with his big sad grin. If we hear him laugh, we have to look for him on the cameras to force him back to the stage. If he appears in the office, we have to look at him. We're done, but we come back again. Now a screen with a pattern might appear. More. We better pay attention to it, because if we don't, we're done for, since we'll have to repeat it. Night 4 is finished, but we return to the same one for a final night, obviously more difficult. It's not 6 AM yet, but it seems that the entity has had enough. It knows that we will make it, and this can't end this way. Don't you see? All of this was for you, it tells us, and all you can do to repay me is leave me here to rot, it replies. In the end, it tells us that it was the perfect night for us to never want to leave. This is how night 6 begins. Thank you for the instructions, you're very much appreciated, unknown and diabolical entity, but we won't need it, you won't need it because I'll summarize it for you. If it comes down the hallway and reaches the door, we must shine the light on it until it leaves. If we hear very loud footsteps on one side, we have to close the door on it. If we see a virus alert, we have to close the tab so it doesn't use up energy. The same goes for the TV. If it turns on, we have to turn it off. It's an interesting night because it changes the way we've been playing so far. It's very entertaining and very out of the ordinary. However, the entity made a mistake. Yes, we can complete the night and we can make it out alive. We see how he laments not being perfect and not being enough for us, while he reaffirms that he will die over and over again. Let's close this game. I'll miss you. I'm sorry. He ends up telling us, yes, the melancholic scene ends here. Unfortunately, due to heavy copyright, let's pretend it never happened. The credits appear soon after. We could say the game ends here, but that's not completely true. Of course, we have the extras. In one of them, we can find some bonuses given to us by our dear creator. He points out that he considers his own work a joke, like a troll game. I would have loved for Scott Cawthon's troll games to be as well made as this one. This is simply beautiful, and if you wander around a bit, you'll find a door. Who will you find inside? None other than Puppet, who is hiding from the entity. Luckily for us, this one doesn't want to see us dead. In fact, he'll help us save the animatronics, except for the entity, of course, since it's already lost in its own hell. For that, we're going to go from night 1 to night 5 to connect the animatronics' eyes. Once we've got them, we give them to Puppet. However, he asks us to infiltrate the data to collect the last thing we need for the ritual. This takes us to a minigame where we play as a little Freddy collecting balloons, but at the same time, we have to hide so the entity doesn't catch us. Once it's done, someone thanks us, says this isn't the end, we'll meet again, and they'll be waiting for us in... That's right, is all this just an ad to play? Welcome to Freddy's, it's definitely marketing. Unfortunately, the video game isn't out yet, but if the creator of this work recommends it to us, I think it'll be a lot of fun to play. Going back to the Fangame, well, there's a lot to say. Even though it's a video game made just as a joke, the truth is, it's really well made. It presents an intriguing story about an entity that wants us to stay, engaging mechanics, and a unique experience. This game reminds me of a book called The Purple Cow, which mentions that to attract attention, you have to create an extraordinary or out-of-the-ordinary product. And this Fangame does that. This Fangame is a purple cow. In what other video game do you find such bizarre animatronics and such a strange atmosphere like this Fangame does? If you haven't tried it yet, believe me, you have to. It's totally free on GameJolt, and it's so you can see what a mess this video game is, and also to warm up. While we wait for Second of the Mimic, the FNaF 2 movie, and of course the arrival of Welcome to Freddy's, with nothing more to say, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.